it's the in-season tournament. The in-season tournament is over. The group stage is over. And we have 8 teams advancing in the Western Conference. It is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings against the New Orleans Pelicans. In the Eastern Conference, it will be the Milwaukee Bucks facing off against the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers taking on the Boston Celtics. Now, we'll do a quick prediction thingy. Just like, going through, seeing what we like, seeing what we don't like, what might work. We will start with the Western Conference. The Lakers taking on, you know what? Yeah, let's start with the Western Conference. The Lakers taking on the Phoenix Suns. Who do you like most in that matchup? What do you think works the best? The Lakers have been meh to start this season, to be fair, but they've been great in the in-season tournament, and they've been winning their games there. So how do you feel about them and their chances?
I do think that the Lakers are going to win that one, and I'm pretty low on the Lakers right now just because I think they're still dealing with figuring things out, but I think Phoenix is really struggling to just get everyone on the floor and keep them on the floor. So because of that, I do think the Lakers are going to win that matchup.
Yeah, so the only thing that kind of gives me pause, I would have probably said Phoenix would win this.
Me too.
But Devin Booker got hurt last night against the Toronto Raptors. He was hobbling. He had like a calf or an ankle situation going on. So I don't know his availability for next week. And that kind of puts into question how the Suns are going to look in that situation. So I probably agree with you. Lean Lakers. I also think some of the size stuff, Anthony Davis versus Yusuf Nurkic, that's a clear matchup advantage for the Lakers. AD has fared pretty well against the Suns for the most part. I think LeBron will be up for that game. I think in general, like, you're going to get some really good performances from all of these guys because it's the in-season tournament, chance to go to Vegas, et cetera, et cetera. So I would probably lean Lakers as well, just because of the injury questions with the Suns. And also knowing firsthand, I watched Raptors Suns last night. The Suns don't deal with size very well. Like, if a team can kind of body them in the paint and be this bruising type of team in the paint, you saw it with the Raptors and Mavericks game. I think the Lakers can do some of that to the Suns as well. And that's kind of my question moving forward with Phoenix, actually. It's like, how are you going to deal with teams that are bigger than you? Like, Jokic is going to cook against y'all. The Minnesota Timberwolves is a matchup headache for you guys. I have questions, I guess I would say, about the size of the Suns, even despite them having Durant and Nurkic and, Yuta Watanabe is 6'9", and Keita Bates-Diop is 6'9", and whatnot. But they don't seem too big to me. They don't seem like they're a massive team. Whereas, like, Minnesota, you go up against them, it's like you're that Space Jam meme, Yeah. It's like a different story. The Nuggets, you go up against them, it's like that Space Jam meme. And I think, I don't know, that's probably the question I have for Phoenix moving forward. Not even in-season tournament exclusive, just in general.
Definitely.
I've got the Lakers. I've got the Lakers in that one. West, sticking with the Western Conference, we got Sacramento versus New Orleans. Now, to be fair, New Orleans has cooked Sacramento in their matchup so far this season. They haven't played in the in-season tournament yet, but they will. Who do you like in this? Because the Kings, they are looking much better now that De'Aaron Fox is back. They look incredible. I can pull up the plus-minus really quickly while you give me your predictions, but, like, they look great now with Fox back in the lineup. But also the Pelicans are healthy, ladies and gentlemen. CJ McCollum is back. Trey Murphy apparently is going to be making his debut on Friday. So the Pelicans are also very healthy going into this game. Where do you lean? Because this is a tough one, in my opinion. I'm kind of split.
It's a tough one. And oh man, the matchups throughout the year, I tend to be like, that is a big, you can't ignore that. However, I'm probably going to ignore it only because I don't trust New Orleans. And I hate to say that, but I don't trust them quite yet. And I hope that they prove me wrong because we had a lot of fun talking about them last year. But right now, I think Sacramento just has, with it being like a do or die, win or go home, I trust a team that has more continuity and that has more, what's the word? Just cohesion overall. I feel like New Orleans is on a good stretch, and they've had good moments, but I think overall there have been a lot of like slapping a band-aid on things moments, and I feel like Sacramento's in a
Right.
completely different spot, so I just trust them a little bit more, so I'm going to go with Sacramento.
It's fair to trust the cohesion of the Kings. They are a well-oiled machine at this point on offense. And when it comes to De'Aaron Fox, plus 8.3, career high in plus minus for him this season. They are overwhelmingly better with him on the floor compared to him off of the floor and him healthy. Like they're just a completely different team. And that's fair because, behind him at the guard spot, they don't have anybody who can replicate some of that stuff. Davion Mitchell isn't necessarily that type of player. Keon Ellis, God love his soul, not that type of player. And I think ultimately like that is going to be a very, very important equation for the Kings, who are like, they are healthy, they're ready to roll, they're looking better. Now, to be fair, Keegan Murray is dealing with a back injury, so maybe he doesn't play in this. Who knows? We'll see what happens. I agree with you generally that the Pelicans are sort of all over the place. They have stretches. I've watched a few of a lot of games this year of the Pelicans. They have stretches where they look like contenders, where BI and Zion are on the same page, where their supporting cast is this stout defensive group that can get stops. Jonas Valanciunas is humming along as per usual. When CJ McCollum was healthy, he was knocking down an inordinate amount of his threes. He was a great release valve scorer. They're now getting Trey Murphy back, who is like a budding all-star at some point in his career. They like, the talent is clearly there for the New Orleans Pelicans. But I also have these moments where it's like, this offensive system does not work. I can't salvage it. And I think it's weird because you have so much talent on that team. You have an incredible, they're 18th in offense this season at 112.8 points per 100 possessions. It's pretty lackluster for a team that has that much offensive firepower between Zion, between BI. Part of that is the 3-point shooting. Part of that is not having weapons to space the floor. There was a stretch, I think it was against the Utah Jazz, where no one wanted to take a 3-point shot. Everybody was scared to shoot on that team. And when you have a guy like Zion, who is this bruising paint presence, dominant paint presence, you need to have guys who can stretch the floor for you. Jordan Hawkins has been great for that exact same reason. You add CJ McCollum now, you add Trey Murphy, maybe that equation changes, maybe they start to look better. It all depends on the lineup fluidity and whatnot. But I think in terms of like just trusting a team for a one-on in-season tournament elimination game, I think I'm going with the Sacramento Kings as well. Because I think it's just, you can trust it a little bit more, like you said. So yeah, Kings and Lakers. Okay. How do you feel about that matchup? It is a historic matchup, if you will. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of bad blood between the franchises. The upstart Sacramento Kings versus the historic Los Angeles Lakers. I actually think I would very easily say the Sacramento Kings. When it comes to the Lakers right now, I have a lot of questions of how they survive minutes without LeBron James. And maybe that doesn't matter for a one-off in-season tournament game in Las Vegas. And ultimately, Vegas is going to have a lot of Lakers fans come to that game. It's pretty much a home game for the Los Angeles Lakers in Vegas. I have my questions about how this team sustains without LeBron during stretches, when he's on the bench, when he's not playing. Obviously, it's a one-off single elimination game, so maybe that's not part of the equation. But going back to trusting something, going back to trusting a thing, and I think the offense of the Sacramento Kings, the offensive firepower, is so much better than the offensive firepower of the Lakers so far this season. The Lakers just look really, really clunky offensively.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I'm going to go with the Kings as well. Kings in the in-season tournament final. Do you agree with me? Do you think it'll be Lakers? Do you think the Kings are going to win that Lakers matchup?
I do think that they will. And it's funny that you said the word clunky, because I was actually just talking to someone who covers the Lakers, and he used the exact same word to describe how they're fitting together. And I mean, D'Lo had an explosive performance the other night, but it just, it's like, oh, you kind of get these surprise moments with them. It's not, to me, it's not like you know exactly what to expect, or it's going to be this consistent formula. Like, to me, it's not quite figured out yet. And so maybe it will be with this group. Maybe they're going to have a significant change. I don't know. But kind of going back to what I said about New Orleans, there are big questions that I don't quite have the answers to and that I don't fully trust. And because of that, I'm going to pick the Kings.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Looking at LA's numbers, they're 24th in offense this season. They are, they are ninth in defense this season, but I think their net rating is bad. They're 19th in net rating. Their offense just hasn't been able to keep up with their defense. Now, their defense has been very good, like ninth overall. They are getting stops. Anthony Davis, sublime defensively as per usual. LeBron is buying in. Cam Reddish has been awesome for them defensively, even despite the lackadaisical point of attack defense of Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. They're getting a lot of stops, but offensively, it just seems clunky, like you said. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's where I would lean Kings. So Kings in the in-season tournament final. Let's shift over to the Eastern Conference. Pick who's going to be facing the Kings between the Bucks and the Knicks, which I think is actually a pretty interesting matchup. I think it's tough. I think this is going to go down to the wire.
Yeah,
this is going to go down to the wire. And Dame has been one of the best clutch players in the league this season. He's going to probably win the Jerry West Clutch Award. I would probably say the Bucks, but in a very close nail-biter type of game. The Knicks defense is solid as it comes. I just jumped on a Knicks podcast because the Raptors are playing the Knicks tomorrow, and we were talking about the Knicks defense. Just the buy-in from guys like Mitchell Robinson, Quentin Grimes, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett as well. Like, there's a level of buy-in on the defensive end that I love, and I think that will cause a lot of problems for the Bucks, but I just trust the top-end talent of Milwaukee a little bit more. It's about trust in these type of games, I feel like, you know?
Yeah, it is. And I hate to just be like, oh, this is so predictable. Oh, you just picked the top seed or, whatever. But it's not that simple. And I do think, I agree with you that I think that it probably will go down to the wire. And I kind of am secretly hoping for like a Jalen Brunson explosion and then they sneak one by. That would be fun. Yeah. But I do expect, with what we've seen from Dame, like you mentioned, and also just Dame and Giannis as of late, I do expect them to pull this out just because of the experience. Not saying that the Knicks don't also have a pretty decent amount of experience at this point, but I think Milwaukee is just sort of, they've got that edge of, I know exactly what it takes to win, and I make people adjust to my game, and I just think that Milwaukee is kind of ready to once again prove that, hey, we're, we are as good as we believe we are, and so I expect them to win that one.
No, I agree with you. The one area where I could see New York getting the edge is their bench. Their bench has been awesome all season. Their bench is 6th in plus minus at 1.7. They've had an incredible bench so far this year. Quickly, Isaiah Hartenstein, Josh Hart, guys like that, they're stepping up, and they've had these really, really good lineups that they can play with. I think if there's a way for New York to win this game is for their bench to absolutely dust Milwaukee's bench. Milwaukee has struggled in the bench department this season. They haven't been able to get contributions from anybody outside of like 6 or 7 guys. So that's the way New York can win this game, in my opinion. We'll see if that happens, but I think I would also lean Milwaukee in this one. Okay, now to the other side of the Eastern Conference in-season tournament race, the Pacers and Celtics. The Pacers, the Indiana Pacers, they got to the freaking in-season tournament. Tyrese Halliburton, they have the #1 offense in the league. It's incredible. They're running away with the best offense in NBA history. The Celtics are also a great offensive team, though. They are really, really good on the offensive end. They are also very good on the defensive end. And I think that's where I would give them the edge. I think the Celtics will have more counters. There is a world in which this is an absolute shootout. This goes like 130 to 135 type of thing. But I think I lean Celtics more just because of their ability to get more stops. So I say Celtics, Bucks, in-season tournament, Eastern Conference final. How do you feel about that?
Oh, man. I do think...
Listen, Rick Carlisle bias aside,
here's the deal. I think it will most likely be Boston, but I think that Kristaps Porzingis injury is we will see. We will see. So I'm wondering if that comes into play and any sort of we'll see. So I'm gonna give it to Boston because we just got done talking about how dominant Boston has been and how they're built to really take on anyone. And I mean, I don't know where we both stand on them winning the whole thing and being favorites, but I think we're both kind of on the same page with where we kind of view them. And so really any
they're very
matchup,
good. Very, very
it's
good
hard.
basketball
It's
team.
hard to pick anyone over them. And so I love the Tyrese Halliburton storyline that we've seen this year. And similar to what I just said about New York, I hope that they win. I hope that the Pacers just, I would love it. I would love it to get an underdog or somebody surprising to either get to the finals, win the whole thing, or both. I think that's what's so fun about the in-season tournament. So I hope it's the Pacers, but I have to take Boston.
By the way, it will happen. Like,
it will.
I have no doubt in my mind. We are going through this in a very analytical way, describing it and saying, hey, here are the pros and cons of each team winning. Here are their advantages, their disadvantages. But there will be a team in a single elimination game that gets hot, that cooks, and that could be the Indiana Pacers. It very well could be.
I'm changing my answer, as a matter of fact. I think that there's a world in which Boston is too reliant on the three-point shot. They're cold. Porzingis is not available, and the Pacers just roll. So I'm going to vouch for the Pacers, and I am predicting them to beat the Boston Celtics.
All fair. All is fair in love and war. I appreciate it. You had to do it. Back up your homie Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, I get it. I gotta give Hallie I gotta do it.
No, I appreciate it. Look, you know what? If there is any team I think that can, in a single elimination game, put a team like the Boston Celtics on their back, it is the Indiana Pacers, just because of the way that they can score the basketball. So yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm going to stick with the Celtics. You stick with the Pacers.
I think
it's all good.
Should.
We'll see what happens. Okay, Bucks and Pacers or Bucks and Celtics, where do you lean? I actually think either way, the team that is between Pacers and Celtics will go on to the finals. I don't think the Bucks will move on to the in-season tournament final. I think it will be either the Celtics or the Pacers, just because of the offensive firepower. I think if the Pacers end up getting to that point, they will be very, very, motivated to make it to the finals. And I would love if it was the Indiana Pacers versus the Sacramento Kings in an in-season tournament final. And how is the, oh my God. Yeah.
If you had told 2015 Lauren that was dying watching Golden State, if you had told Lauren that we would see an in-season tournament with Sacramento and Indiana fighting for the title, I mean, what? That's crazy. So, who knows what we'll get, but I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I think similar to how I feel about the Lakers with big questions and not fully trusting it yet, I do think that whoever comes out of Indiana or Boston, I do think we'll move on as well, because I just think that even with the top heavy talent, I don't think New York has the firepower. Like, we just got done talking about that, but I do think that whatever team has the momentum to just be right there is going to beat them.
Follow hosts at Just S. Barahini on all socials and at The Lauren Gunn on Twitter. The Objective Basketball Podcast, delivering the NBA